Okay, guys, what's up? It's Financialism, and I have my friend Connor right over there next to me. Connor is a teacher, and he is killing it in the financial health game. There's a lot of stereotypes about if you're a teacher, then you kind of have to live a life of poverty. But you see what's behind Connor? That's his house. Okay, he lives in that house. He didn't inherit it. He lives in it. He drives a very nice car, way nicer than mine, and probably cost 5 times or 4 times as much, maybe even 6. So, Connor, I hope that I didn't introduce too much of you because obviously you got so much more to say about you than I do, I hope. What are you? What do you do? I know I just said it. And for everyone just tuning in right now to this YouTube or Instagram Live, if it's there, I guess it's not live. Anyways, can't edit out. We're going to keep going. Drop a like, drop a comment, and be like, yo, Connor, how you doing this? Hey, Connor, respect. Also, this channel is really awesome. Okay, so Connor, thank you. So you're a teacher and
Yep.
you're making, I would say, good money.
For the stereotype, I think I'm in the top, and for as long as I've been doing it, I'm certainly within that top bracket, I would say.
Nice. And how long have you been teaching?
So I'm on year 4 right now, and I worked 2 years as a substitute before. So
Wow.
yeah, 4 years full time, 6 years in education.
That's awesome. So like,
Yeah.
I would say you're relatively new to the teaching field. Like 4 years,
Oh,
like
sure.
there's people who do it for like 20, 30, 40, their whole lives.
Oh, I'm still very early career. Yeah, I'm not like brand new. Like I got tenure now, but I'm certainly within the early career.
Yeah, and just so we could cut straight to the point, like a ballpark of range of your income right now.
I'm making about 80 right now. Yeah.
About $80,000 4 years as a teacher. And I'm not saying like you got lucky, like we talk. You made a lot of calculated decisions. You moved states. And I just want you to talk more about like why you moved states. What state did you choose to live in? No one find out where he lives. What state you chose to live in, why you chose to do this, and how are you able to afford, for example, you have a Tesla car, and I know you're financially savvy, so like the interest rate on it is probably really, really low, and you have probably most of it paid off, and you have a mortgage, a house, and you afforded a down payment. How the heck did you do this on a teacher salary? Like, what's your plan? I'm passing the mic to you, and here you go.
Sure. Okay. So, as you know, my homeboy, we grew up kind of in the same area, right? Like we around LA suburbs area. So, I'm a Californian, right? So I was going to school. I knew I wanted to be a teacher the whole time, right? Definitely was warned over and over and over again. Connor, you're going to be poor. Connor, you're not going to be that wealthy. Your job might be secure, but like you're certainly not going to, be able to afford a lot of nice things. So I'm always the type of person that like I want to do my homework before I go make any sort of major life decisions, right? So certainly I did do some homework when I was looking into the teaching profession. And certainly there are many places in the US where, if you're a teacher, like you might as well just be working at Walmart at that point. Like you're maybe making a couple dollars more, but your job is so much more stressful. So, I was really making a point to like do my research on which states and which like areas are best to treat their educators, right? So when I was finishing school, and of course I was going to school in California too, because this was where I'm from, and I was, I got some support from home. I went to like the cheaper schools. I went to Cal State Channel Islands, so I picked like one of the cheaper of the state schools. When I went to grad school, I went to a private school, but it was a private school that was very affordable. I was living back at home with my parents, so I was able to just pay. I was working as a sub then, and I was paying school with cash.
Nice.
So I did my homework on which states treat teachers the best, and I decided to move to Washington State.
Wow.
So I moved about 1,000 miles up north from Cali up to Washington State. In my research, it was one of the best states for teachers while still having a great overall economy and good tax policy.
Wow. So you kind of where did you like go online to find this out? Like you just Googled best places that treat teachers or what?
Well, I was going on several sites, so there's like Salary, Glassdoor, etc. I was looking at many, like I would just look up school districts within like different states. Like for most states, like they do publicly disclose their salary charts, so you could see, okay, year one teacher with a master's, this is what the school district will pay you. I go on to another state's website, another state with other districts, do the same thing. I see like their school districts. I know for sure what I will be making there. And then I'll go look up that state's tax policy. Like, what's their sales tax? What's their personal state income tax? What's property tax? And then I was sorting through that to figure out which states I wanted to look at moving to.
That's different than a lot of other fields where you kind of have to know your own value. I mean, I guess you have to know your value too, because you definitely knew your value, and that's why you moved where you would be recognized for, I hope, a good portion of your value. But like other jobs, you really have to do your research in the local area. Like some place could pay like 30 grand more for a job that pays like 70K here. It's 100K over here. And as long as you say the right words and advocate for yourself, but you're saying it's all written out there. So you know what you're going into, and you kind of know what to ask for, and you know their ceiling at the same time, right?
Well, I mean, you don't even ask for it, because when it comes to teacher salaries, it's all the unions negotiate all of that, right? Like, you just like, you could look at what they're going to pay you, you apply for it, and if they hire you, like, that's just what it is, right? You have to decide if you want that, right? So I'm looking at like throughout the country, like where to go. So yeah, when I figured Washington State was the best move for me. It also kind of speaks to so I'm a history teacher, and we, part of teaching U.S. history is the whole manifest destiny idea of people who would move to pursue opportunity. So I just did that same ethos and just made the same move for myself to, go pack up and have a fresh start in a new state.
Wow. Yeah, I totally I remember we would always debate and discuss while we were driving the Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments together. And you were we were, I guess we had a lot in common, but definitely some things that were different. So,
Sure.
and what I love is you're kind of narrating your life through that same framework of hey, I'm a history teacher. I see things in that framework, and that's beautiful to me. I do the same with behavior analysis, and I kind of talk about investing and wealth growth all through the perspective of behaviorism. For the most part, I like to go to other disciplines too, but for the most part. But that's enough about me. This is a podcast about you. So my other question for you is, your income has grown, I believe, close to 28% since you started working as a teacher.
Yeah.
What did you start at? Well, what was your starting pay, and how did your life adjust? Because I know since you began teaching, you got that mortgage, you got that house, you put in the down payment, and you got a heck of fancy car. So
Yeah.
walk us through that.
Like, what was the pathway to there? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I know you're not a victim of lifestyle inflation per se. You're conscious about your money decisions from what I see on the internet about you. So just walk us through your income, what it started, what money moves you were making to achieve enough to save up for a down payment, and then how you got your fancy car. What car you got?
Tesla Model 3. Yeah.
Got that Tesla Model 3. Okay, epic.
Sure do. Yeah, I can kind of give you the nutshell of it. So when I moved to Washington for my first year, I was set to make 65K. So that was my starting salary as a first year teacher, which is what I'm saying is that's way higher than pretty much almost anywhere else in the country.
You teach middle school, right?
Yep, 7th grade. Well, my first year was 6th grade, but yes, it's all the same. In terms of your compensation, K through 12, it should be identical.
It won't matter if you're teaching 5th grade as opposed to 9th grade. It would be the same.
You'll be paid the same. Yep, it's literally just it's pretty standard for education. It's just years of experience and what degree you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it different for preschool?
It has to be in a public school FTE. You get what's called FTE. Yeah. Okay. So if you talk private school, it does not count.
I see. Okay, that makes sense, because I was in a private school and I know those teachers were being paid less than what their public teacher counterparts were, and a lot of them were there for community, and they lived in
a lot of some preschool teachers aren't even certified, right? So if it's private, especially if it's private, so
okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, was making 65K, and I came here. I had around 10K saved. What I just set up a plan. I lived really frugally. I shared a room in another house, so I had low rent. I drove you remember my old silver Prius? I've had that car forever. I bought it for 3.5K back in 2013. Still had it, still running. No problems, because Toyotas are like that. So yeah, I just lived super frugally my first year. I would set a certain dollar amount that I would save. I would just get paid. I would pay myself 2K first in the bank. I would just
Wow.
put it in the bank, and then I would pay rent. I would pay off if I had a balance left on my credit card, I would pay it off in full, and then just use the rest of the money to make all my expenses for that month and rinse and repeat. So I did that for about a year. So by the end of that year, I had about anywhere from like 25, 30K saved up. So I was
a Pokemon card right there.
I know there's a Charizard. Work an entire year of my life to go get a Charizard. But what I decided, what made a lot of sense to me was, okay, so I was living with a roommate in a house, right? So I thought, why don't I flip this around? Why don't I get a place and get a roommate who pays me rent versus the other way around?
Okay.
So I took the money I saved, and my parents had, a good chunk of money that we've kind of saved throughout my life. Like they'd be like a small account where they just put a little bit in for, my 25 years of life, right? And then they're like, okay, we can use this with money that you have to go put a down payment on a place.
Wow.
So
it's a great like privilege to recognize.
Yep.
And I hope if you have kids, you do that for them too. Like a lot of parents are like, man, I'm not helping my kid. But I think they saw that like you were putting in the effort, you were making the moves. And that's similar to my story where my mom is like, yo, you're investing almost every dollar. You're going to live over here under this roof for as long as you need. Now we're kind of talking about moving out, but she's like, you got enough money now. Like, let's go. But up until like around this point, she was like, yo, you got like 6 figures invested. You used your privilege correctly. So I'm going to reward you by letting you stay here longer. And I know that that's like a little bit cultural. We're from the Soviet Union where we had like 4 generations in one household. So I really appreciate you like not nullifying that, because a lot of people are like, I did it by myself. But it's cool that you recognize like what your parents did. And of course, you did a lot of work too. And that's what we're going to focus on from here on now. So kudos to you, man.
Yeah, I mean, no, definitely 100% agree with you. Like I do acknowledge that, yeah, I certainly got help from home. I would say that I could have still had the same path. It just would take me longer, right? I would just have to either save a bit more money, or I would just have to take like, put less down on the house, right?
Mhm.
But there were other paths. Like there's certainly a lot of paths for people who are like in a similar boat to me, like young millennial, just getting out of college, going into education field. If you don't have that backing from home, there are other pathways.
Right.
So,
Okay. So how much did you
on.
end up putting down on the house?
So with the money that I had, and along with my folks' money, we ended up putting around. So I got a condominium. The condominium was about 375K. We put down around 60-ish. It was around 15%. So I think it was around 60, 65K,
Okay.
something like that. So that's what got us the place. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So it was perfect. So I can have the master bedroom and a bathroom. Then I can go like have someone else come in here, take the other bedroom, take the bathroom. Kind of house hacking was my strategy.
Right.
So I chose a desirable area that it's very close to everything you need to be close to shopping, close to business centers, close to where a lot of people would be working. I was very strategic of like where I wanted the property to be. Okay. So not only is it convenient for me, it's also convenient for resale value and convenient for anyone that I was going to go share a place with.
That's amazing, because like a lot of times, like in the traditional approach to like buying a house, like people always say it's an investment, and like a lot of investors don't consider the house that they live in an investment. But I would say for you, it's kind of like this hybrid of like, yes, it's actually paying me while I'm here, or it's helping me pay down the house. You could probably borrow from the amount that it's worth, and you continue to live in it. So like that's awesome that you found like this balance, instead of like just going super hard. What stands out about your whole journey to me so far is that you are not super frugal any longer. You're not in that $3,500 car just to save money and have more money to like invest in other real estate or stocks or even Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh. You're actually like buying things that you like, that make your life feel better, and that kind of represent what you've achieved in life. So that's awesome. I'm the opposite. I'd rather have as many stocks and items that are like assets and go up, like Teslas, and even like housing stuff doesn't really interest me. So that's why it's harder for me to connect to a lot of people who like things. But I see you have one thing that I don't, and that's taste. So you're using that taste and you're achieving it. So that's so cool.
I think at my core is like, I like, my logic is that I like you, I on one hand, I want to invest to, obviously improve my future, but at the same time, I also like tangible investments where I can actually still use what I'm investing in, right?
Mm,
So I invest in stocks too, but like stocks are simply just numbers on the screen. That's what it is.
right.
I live in this place, right? Like it's actually, I got an actual use to go to sleep, wake up, take food, gives me shelter, um, close enough to work, and it's also an investment for me, not only with living with someone, but also with the appreciation of the property.
Yeah.
So it has that like practical use as well as for what it does.
And you could skip this question, but what percentage of your mortgage payment is being assisted by having the roommate?
So about half,
Wow.
half of like mortgage, tax, and HOA fees.
So about 50% is being covered by another person. And your quality of life, has it like, would you rather be alone in the house?
I mean, it'd be marginally better, but like for what I'm getting out of it, it's certainly it's a definite trade-off I'm gonna do.
What are the cons for people who are thinking about house hacking? Like, what actually bothers you about this?
Well, I mean, of course, you got to be comfortable with like the person that you're going to live with. I mean, if you're gonna like, especially like in a smaller place, like you got to be certainly comfortable with like sharing living room space, like maybe having some like cleaning schedule that you're both going to respect, respecting each other's boundaries, like sharing space in the refrigerator, right? But if you're also the kind of person that like likes to stay in their own bedroom, like that's great too, because you can still have your own space, right? Like most of the time, it feels like you're still mostly by yourself. But when you are sharing with someone, like there's certainly like a level of like you got to be comfortable with who you're having in and
That makes sense.
setting up house norms.
I definitely feel like some days I would be like, yo, yes, I want that. If I have property that I'm living in, I would want to pay down like twice as fast, or for me to have 50% more purchasing I'd settle for 40% more purchasing power, and just going into stocks with that extra money that I'm not paying down on the mortgage. I want to keep that low, as possibly low as possible. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. What about
Mhm.
your car situation? So how did you get from like a Honda that was 3.5K to
Yeah,
a Tesla? What's the purchase? What
the
was the
cost of my car.
yeah.
It's about 45K. That's what I paid on it.
Wow. That's more than a 9 English first edition Charizard. These days
Yeah, it certainly is.
actually hit that price at a certain point, but yeah.
Yeah, so I did a lot of research on Teslas and stuff. So, well, I guess so before, I had my 3.5K car, and it was in 2020 when, right when, like, a little bit after the pandemic hit, and like a lot of used cars were like, really, really, really dipping. So I was at a point where I'm like, I have a comfortable amount to finally, get rid of my 260K mile car that like I don't know whenever it'll break down, and go get myself something nicer. So I looked at a used 2016 Mercedes C-Class. So I bought that, and I got a really good deal for it. It was like 22K, like 25K miles on it, still under like years of warranty. It was a certified, so it had like an additional year warranty. So that was a really good buy just for what the vehicle was. So I went ahead and put around, I want to say it was 33%, about a third of it down in cash.
Okay.
Took out a low interest rate. So I had that for a while. I liked it, but I was always really looking at Tesla. I just couldn't in 2020 justify literally the price of the car, right? And I was making around like 70ish then, and I'm like, the car should be like, if I'm going to buy an expensive car, like should be about half of what I'm making if I'm going to buy something like that.
Mm,
So I did not. As fate would have it, last year, a lot of people were getting back to work and buying cars, so used cars went like,
right.
so I'm like, they always say cars are a bad investment, which I mean,
Yeah.
in normal times, yes, but like my car actually went up in price. So that
How
was
much did
cool.
it, like, what did you sell it for?
I sold it for 26.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
rode it for what, for how many years?
I drove it for about a year. Let's see, about a year and a half. I put 12K miles on it, all under
It
warranty,
went up
and
$4,000.
it went up $4,000. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually really good, because average stock market returns about 10%. So in that year and a half, you would, if it was stocks, you would have gotten, well, actually pretty close, like maybe like 3.4.
Yeah,
You
and
would,
the thing is, I actually got to enjoy having the car. I got to drive
yes.
Mercedes around. It's very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Yeah, so that was kind of lucky, but you know, I was looking at.
You're putting yourself in positions where the probability of luck is increasing. So, I do want to point that out. Like, you're talking about money in a way where, when you get money, like if someone had $20,000 in their account right now, chances are in 6 months it would not be there, and not for a good reason. So, man, you're crushing this. You're
Well,
crushing.
I put enough down on. I mean, I was totally expecting, like, so there's that curve, right? You see, there's that usual curve with cars where it's like after like the third or fourth year, it kind of starts going off.
Yeah.
So the car I bought back then was 4 years old, so it already went through the worst of its depreciation. It was like 50, the car was like 50K when it was, so I got it for 22.
Wow.
With low miles, under warranty. So I tried to take advantage of that curve. I was expecting it to go down, but when it went up, great. Like that's just
Unreal. But
even
also
better. And I put
probably,
enough down where I have a buffer. So I was never underwater on the car.
did Teslas also go up during that time?
Yes, I'm about to get to.
Okay.
So the price of the Model 3 started going like at its lowest. A brand new Model 3 was 37, and that's like base without like adding in like paint or whatever. So I put my order in for the Model 3 last summer, and the thing is with Tesla, like when you put in the order, like you're locked into the current price. So Tesla rose their prices last fall by 5K. So I got to buy the car for 5K less than like it's like I put the order in like a month like before they like were making their prices. So I got to lock it in at a lower number.
About 11% too. So that's another year of investing, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I was also like the main reason why I wanted to buy a Tesla was, yes, I understand that like the money could make some better returns in the market, but like you said, I do like to enjoy things too. The Tesla Model 3 has the best residual like resale values in the auto market, like by far. It's not even close. Like they don't follow that like curve. Their curve is more like this.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, like I was looking at 3 or 4 year old because the Tesla Model 3 came out in 2018. I was looking at used 2018 ones, 2019 ones. They're about the same price as a new one. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and the reason why is because Tesla has so much demand right now, and they've had like demand, and they just cannot produce enough cars to meet the demand. So you can either buy a new one and wait 6 to 8 months, or you can go buy a used one for about the same price, but it's used. So I'm like, I can go enjoy a Tesla. I can certainly wait to go get it. And I'm not really worried about like losing a lot of my net worth. So, and I don't have to pay for gas ever again. So that seemed like a win-win.
I feel like the timing for a lot of these things was perfect, but a lot of people don't have the cash ready when the market is, doing its thing, and there's an opening in it where it's like, whoa, you get years of advantages right now. Like in 2020, in March, when stocks crashed, that was a clear window for entry where people got to invest for 2015 prices for about a week. And if you did not have cash ready, you missed out. And that's
what I did. I did that too.
You did that too. Yeah. You're doing everything. So like you aligned yourself, you were ready on all fronts to take advantage of like any market opportunities. So the last section of this video right now, you're making like we calculated about 28% more than you did when you started.
Yep.
How do you break down your check? Like, I want to hear about payments, I want to hear about investing, and I want to hear about saving and any debt payoff or things like that.
Is there one thing I can mention first before I get to that?
Tell me anything.
Yeah. So this is also like I think some people don't realize about like buying into real estate. So a lot of people are like, you got to get to 20% to avoid what's called PMI. So PMI is known as private mortgage insurance. So if you put under 20%, like you pay like a portion, like an extra fee, basically on your mortgage payments that it covers. They say it covers the lenders in case you default, right? Like they'll be covered anyway. But anyways, besides the point. But what people don't realize is that once you reach 20% equity, PMI goes away. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If you put, let's say, 10 to 15% down on the property, right? You buy it. Next year, if that property appreciates, by 5, 7, whatever percent that like the market's, on average it does get, suddenly you now have 20% equity in the home. Maybe you have 25% equity in the home. Go refinance your mortgage, the PMI's gone. So you don't have to like save $100,000 to go buy a home. Take that look, you can go put in 10%. Once the property appreciates, just refinance, you're good.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah,
think that deserves its own whole entire TED talk right
it
there.
really does. Yeah.
Housing hacks,
So
man. You got housing down, you got like buying the latest cars without like getting a terrible deal. Like you got it all figured out when it comes to finances and stuff. Now, if only you could get good at Yu-Gi-Oh, you know.
yeah, I know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
So let's break down your expenses now.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? Do you have any help? And yeah, just let's. Here's the mic.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm making around. So right now I'm making around 80. Like that's gross, right?
Yeah.
So what's cool about Washington State, like I mentioned earlier, is they don't have state income tax. So I get to keep more of my money for my net income than, like, say, a state like California, where off the bat, I'm not only am I paying Fed income tax, I'm paying state income tax as well. So I'm making about 4.5, 4.6. And that can certainly go up if I do more sub work. So sometimes, like during my off period, another teacher, like they don't have a substitute, I'll go fill in their class, get $50 an hour. So if I do that 5, 6 times, then there's 300 gross. I'll get around like 230, 240 of it in my paycheck.
Oh my gosh.
So it can vary. So anyways, about, let's just say it was like the lowest, like 4.5K. So I'm paying about 1,000. So my housing payments are around $2,000. That's mortgage, that's property tax, that's HOA. So I'm
And
paying
you're
around
not
1,000.
okay, yeah, okay. So you're paying 1,000, and
I'm
then
paying 1,000.
the other person is adding the other half. Okay,
Yep.
makes
Yep. So I pay around 1,000 on that. So that takes me to 35. Now my car payment is about 450. So 450 goes towards that. That leaves me with 3. So now I got 3K pretty much for all my other, expenses. So with 3K, food, I have like a little bit of like life insurance that I buy. And that's pretty much it. So like I still kind of stick to that 2K. My 2K will either go into my, I'll split that into my Roth IRA, go into my bank account. What I'm trying to do now is just kind of throw 2K in my Roth IRA, for the first 3 months of the year. Then once it's at the 6K threshold, then all right, it's going to go into my savings account, and I can go work on paying off my student loans, which is not too high. I can start throwing down some more money on the car.
I
We're
love
looking at remodeling my kitchen sometimes, so that's kind of like another little fund that I'm throwing a little bit of money into.
what I
So
really like here is you're prioritizing investing, even though you do have student loans, and you're prioritizing long-term investing. And for
yeah,
everyone listening right now, in a Roth IRA, it's not that Connor just puts the 2,000 in there for 3 months. He actually invests it inside of that Roth IRA because
yeah, never taking anything out. Nope.
right. So like it
So
has to be invested. That's the key here. But other than and it's there till you're 59 and a half for the most part, and it'll be all tax free, and you'll finally be able to afford a Charizard. So
so kind of like my overall philosophy, as you can kind of see, is like I do enjoy buying Tesla and buying a home, but like I buy things that I can practically use that are not going to like tank my net worth. Like the Tesla, I'm not worried about it losing 20K next year.
mm,
Real estate's a pretty solid market. In the near future, the supply shortage is not going anywhere. There's still a really small supply of homes in desirable areas, so I'm not worried about that either. So
yeah.
I'm happy to, own that property and make those payments. And I'm still having plenty of residual money just by keeping my other living expenses small. Like I don't go out and eat all the time. I usually just kind of make food at home. And honestly, it tastes, I just follow a recipe and it tastes pretty good. So I'm happy with that.
I love to hear that. I mean, this is kind of like simple finances, right? Like you did the math, you did the numbers, you had a little bit of help, and you used it to your advantage in a very conscious way,
Yep.
and you got ahead with it. You realized, like, hold on, why am I the renter when I could be the owner? And then just edit, paste, except you get the profit now. And that
Yep.
was an awesome move too. You are contributing to your Roth IRA and maxing it out, which is incredible as well. And you're focusing on doing it quickly because the longer your money is invested, the more the odds are in your favor of higher returns over time. So the first 3 months, you're going hard on that Roth IRA, which again will be tax-free money. So with all of this, you are in line to, I would be so surprised if you're not a millionaire during your lifetime. Like it would just be shocking to me.
Yeah.
So everyone always like, man, a millionaire, I need to start a business. You're like, or you could just be a teacher in the United States and budget and invest, which is incredible what you're doing.
And house hack. Yeah.
Right. But like
Yeah.
it shows that like making money is not just about like going to your 9 to 5. It's also about taking that 9 to 5 money and putting it in places where it's going to grow. And a lot of people, they buy the new Mercedes and it depreciates in half within those 3 years.
New Mercedes.
Yeah, we don't want to do that unless we're at Six Flags. That's the only place where this.
Yeah, the only place that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and disclaimer, I do own some shares of Six Flags stock. But with that being said, Connor, is there anything left, any gems of wisdom that you would like to give people before this video ends?
Yeah, kind of like what you were saying, just being conscious with what you're going to do with your money to enjoy yourself, right? Like, so have hobbies like Yu-Gi-Oh, where when you buy that $100 card, it's still a $100 card. It's not like you went out to a restaurant, you ate the meal and it's gone. So the things you enjoy, be conscious of what you enjoy, I guess, with what you're spending like significant amounts of money on, and then make common sense investing choices, and you'll probably do really well.
I love to hear it, man. Thank you so much for your time. And maybe if people have any comments or questions for you, they could leave it below, and you could go on YouTube. Hopefully you got a YouTube account, and you could yeah. So that would be really, really awesome. And with that, guys, don't forget to comment your question for Connor. If you're a teacher or you're interested in teaching and don't want to live in poverty, right? And you want to drive a new Tesla or put a down payment on a home or house hack, it is all possible without a 6-figure salary. And Connor can actually have a 6-figure salary if he wanted to as a teacher, like he mentioned, doing the substitute gigs in the openings. So that's all incredible, and I cannot wait to do this again, maybe in a year and then the year after that, and just keep up with your journey, because it's a real American journey, and you're happy, what enough means for you, and you're doing great, man. I'm really, really proud to call you my friend and to be able to do this. This is awesome.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for having me. This is fun.